Okay, and we're back. So I just find that sometimes you just gotta go with what you know.
Power off, power on.
Power off, power on.
Shut it all down.
So what we did is we're going to do this as simply as possible so that you don't lose connection. Okay, I'm gonna wait for because we had a few viewers. I'm gonna wait for five people to hop on, and we're gonna start this thing again. I don't want Siobhan to have to
If you need me to, I can. But you can also, I was gonna say you can go watch the old video, but apparently it was glitching. So.
I mean,
Yeah, they said that it was like every other sentence.
oh man,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Let us know if the connection's better. If we have to start over, if you miss something, I don't mind.
So I'll say we'll start from the top and I won't ask as many questions. You just tell your story.
You can ask as many questions as you like. Angie wants me to take up all the time. So Angie wants me to keep talking.
Oh, is that what it is? Angie's like, you take your time, baby. Take your time. Like the church mother do, take your time, baby.
Keep going. Don't forget about me. You are in class.
So like I was saying, this month is Child Abuse Awareness Month as well as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And these young ladies have decided to tell their stories. And the real reason why I really wanted to do this as soon as possible was because when Angie reached out to me, I felt as though this was actually the beginning of her conscious effort at healing, right? So I'm sure that there are things that she has done over time to just live life and be triumphant and be the best mom that she can be and be the best child care provider that she can be. But when she reached out to me, it was kind of like she was saying, you know what? I'm ready. I feel like I want to tell a story and I want to turn a corner. So when Angie reached out to me, it just so happened that, you know, my sister cousin here, I knew her story and I personally had never actually heard her talk about it start to finish. And I never really wanted to bring it up because it was like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know, like, he wasn't my child and I know how I felt. So I never actually wanted to, you know, but I also know how strong she is and how she deals with things. So I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm gonna mind my business. If she want to talk about it, cool. If not, that's cool too. So Siobhan is going to tell a little bit of her story.
So, I'm going to try to hit all the important stuff from the beginning. So, I had my first child in 2003. I was a senior in high school. I just graduated high school. I had him in July. I graduated in June. I was still thought-bopping, but that's not the point. Girl. So, I had him in 2003. In 2007, that's when the incident occurred. He was spending some time with his dad. I got a phone call. I lived in Sicklerville at the time, you know, and my family is from here, Eckerman Township, Pleasantville. So I got a phone call from my cousin, and she's like, you know, you got to come back home. And I don't remember, I swear, I cannot remember if she said come to the hospital or if she said just come back home. Either way, I made it to Shore Memorial. So, I get to the hospital and I see all my family outside. I walk inside. His dad's sitting inside. He's crying. I walk past him. Somehow, I guess the nurse met me out there and took me to a room. But either way, we get into a room. The doctor and the nurse tells me, you know, my son had some injuries. He passed away. So they took me to the back, let me see him. He was laying on a table, or not even a table, he was still in a hospital bed at the time. He was on a vent. He had tubes down his throat. He had no shirt on, but he had his pants on, and there was like a blanket on. And, you know, I saw a bruise on his arm, on his left arm. But that was really all that I had noticed. Like, I took a mental note, but I really didn't, like, dwell on it or anything. Just you say your goodbyes, and that's pretty much it. So I leave. I went to my grandma's house. I stayed at my grandma's house that weekend, or that for maybe 5 or 6 days. I stayed at my grandma's house. And the prosecutor's office came to her house and said that they weren't able to release the body. We were having trouble getting the body released either way for the funeral. So the prosecutor's office came, they told us, that they hadn't released the body because they hadn't gotten a statement from his dad. And they couldn't release the body until they had gotten a statement. So they asked me if I could talk to him. I went to his mom's house. He was in his mom's room playing a video game. We talked. I told him, we couldn't move on with the funeral until he spoke to the prosecutor's office. So he said he would, a couple of days or maybe the next day even, they did talk to him. They came back to my grandma's house. They told me that they had arrested him, that my son's injuries were more consistent with child abuse, although his injuries were more severe than what he said had happened, or what he said had occurred. So we have the funeral and everything. Of course, he didn't make it his dad didn't come to the funeral. His mom did, but a couple of my family members ran her away from the funeral, so she didn't even get to stay. And then, so that was 2007, so I buried my son in December 2007.
Yeah. Yep. I remember. It was December 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I was at work that day. I remember. So. Okay. So let's take it back. When they told you that something had happened, were you thinking that it was that severe, or?
No. So when they told me that, I'm gonna put her name out there. Christy called me, and she told me I think she just said to come to the hospital or come come back home. So I know for sure on my way down, nothing in my mind said my son's dead, or
did she say to come home because it was him, or did she say?
Yes, I knew it was
just wanted to
him,
come home?
but I just didn't know what was going on. Like, she didn't want to tell me exactly what happened. So the ride here, my mind was just like, okay, I'm praying. I just kept praying just that everything was okay. I'm crying, of course, because I thought worse, but I didn't think that worse. So it never even crossed my mind that he was dead.
Wow. So you get there, and his father's demeanor is?
He's distraught. I would say he was distraught. He was in a chair. He was sitting in a chair. He just had his head down. He was crying. But it was like a sob. Like, I didn't want to interrupt type sob. Like he knew something was going on. But even still then, I didn't think he was dead. Still, that did not cross my mind that he had passed away.
Had they told him before you got there?
Had to have known.
Okay.
But I don't know. I can't say for sure. But
do you think that he connected? Like, oh, I did this.
He ain't that dumb. He dumb.
I mean,
he ain't dumb. I mean, he dumb. He knew.
He knew.
He knew.
Okay. Okay. So you then
might not want to believe it.
Okay, but I can understand that. So then the things that started to,
like, you might have known him a good 2 years, 3 years, but until you've known him as long as I have, until you've experienced him the way that I have, you can't tell me nothing about this man.
So the signs for you were, we had been in a relationship together, and
we had been in a relationship together. I mean, we had a tumultuous relationship. Like, we fought. So I know what he's capable of. I know what he, or how he reacts to certain situations. I wouldn't have thought that he would have done it to Jordan. Like, I never would have said, oh, he's going to hit him hard, or, oh, and to be honest, like, I'm going to be fair and honest. I don't think that it was intentional. I think that he can't control himself, especially in a moment of anger or in certain situations. So I think he didn't realize that, this is a kid, I can't hit him as hard as I want to hit an adult type thing. But I know what he's capable of.
Okay, so my next question is, you knew what he was capable of. You would never want to think that of his father. What would you say were if you had to describe your 3 most immediate emotions within the first week?
I was speechless the first week, like literally talking would make me cry. And it didn't have to be the conversation of, you know, me talking about my son. It didn't have to be that. It was speaking, and I guess mentally knowing like what I was going through at the time. I was speechless. Like, I could not talk without crying. So, I would say speechless. I would say just, you know, kind of in disbelief. Like, I can't believe this is happening. And just like, what do I do next? Like, what am I going to do next? What is my life going to look like? What's my life going to look like now? You know, like, I had 2 kids. My daughter was 2. He was 4. So it was like, what am I going to do with her? She knows him. And how does my life look without him now? Because he was pretty much my everything. Like, it was me and them. So it was more like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm about to go through, or what I'm about to have to relearn.
And what was the first thing that you felt like this is different?
Like, my life is different. The first night I went back to my house. So the first night, I stayed at my grandma's house for a couple days. The first night I actually went back to my house, that's when my sleep habits changed. And then, you know, going into his room and laying on his bed, or putting his laundry away, or even, I think by that time I had already had his belongings back from the hospital. So, you know, like some of the guys in my family had split up his pajama pants. They all cut up a piece. And he had a wallet that, I don't know, I think Stu might have given him this wallet. Somebody gave him a wallet, and just looking at the wallet, I was like, oh my God, like, he's not here. So that's when it really hit me, like, he's not here.
When do you think that, I'm sorry, did you ever like say like, let me talk to somebody, or?
I never wanted to talk to somebody, and I never thought that I needed to talk to somebody. My nanny, kept saying like she felt like I needed to see a therapist because she didn't think that I grieved, which, I mean, everybody in trauma, everybody heals differently. Everybody takes their own route to, you know, triumph or to getting over a situation. So mine didn't look like I needed to cry every day, or I needed to, I don't know, see a therapist. I did try a support group. I did a support group for a good year, and I never spoke in that support group. I listened to everybody else's story, and it was for parents who lost their children. I listened to everybody else tell their story, and it was like some interesting stories, and it was like, you know, it did make me feel like I'm not alone, which I never felt like I was alone. I just felt like, I can't believe this is what my life looks like. But I did the support group thing. That wasn't for me. I did therapy. I didn't need to see a therapist for this. It really just, it was.
So what did you see the therapist for?
I thought it was like, I was listening to Nanny. I thought I needed to grieve, like maybe I didn't let it all out or something, but I was okay. I had come, to be honest, I think my dad was the one who kind of helped me see that it was, I'm gonna be fine. Like, he was in jail at the time, but he wrote me a letter. He wrote me a letter.
On the inside of the wall, sending inspiration.
He really did, though. He sent me like this 2 or 3 page letter, and he was saying how, you know, like, I gotta be strong. And he was like, he said, God gives his toughest battles to the strong, which is not a Bible verse, mind you. This is not in the Bible. But it still made me feel like God was still with me. Like, even though it takes God, the whole saying removes God from the situation, I still felt like God knew that I was strong enough to handle this. Like, God knew that I could, like, I would make it through, or this would take me through some stuff, but that I would be fine. So I still felt like that stuck with me for forever. It still sticks with me. Like, I'm like, going through some tough stuff does not mean it's the end of you. It does not mean that you weren't meant to handle things. Like, it means that you just have to find a way to get over it or get through it. And I just got through it.
Okay. Do you think that there was anything in your life from childhood to 2007. What?
I thought you were gonna say my age, 25.
She lying.
Childhood through 25 right now.
Do you think that there was anything in your life that prepared you?
Prepared me for what? To lose your job?
Yeah.
No. No.
Right, because there's, I mean,
Nothing prepares you for loss regardless, whether it's losing a child, whether it's losing a parent, whether it's, a grandmom or something. Nothing prepares you, even though you know death happens, death is going to happen. You don't expect it ever. Ever. Even when, like, my nan was dying, like, I knew she was dying, but I didn't expect her to die. Like, you kind of see these people as invincible. You see these people as,
do you ever have moments that you're like, I thought I got through that?
No, I do not have moments where I thought I got to that. I have moments where I kind of fantasize just about what things could look like now or would look like now had I not been through it. But I don't have flashbacks, really. I don't really think of it in a negative. I really just, I think that I am where I am today, and I am who I am today because of the choices I've made after this happened.
Okay. And do you think that it at all changed your trajectory with your now children?
No, because I know how I loved on him, and I still love on them the same way. And this situation had nothing to do with how I treated my kids, so I still treat my kids the same way.
Okay. If I have the comments open, if anybody has any questions, y'all keep it cute, because I don't have to find you. So, okay. If you have any questions,
I'm like,
okay.
that's when I want
Y'all keep it cute, all right? If anybody has any questions, like I said, this young lady has, your support system has shown up. My sister says, don't sleep on Uncle Kirk or his location at the time.
I can listen. We were just saying, my dad is like the smartest loser I've ever met in my life. Like, he is, in a good way, and seriously in a good way. He is just, I don't know. That man been through some stuff, but he will motivate you.
But
like
from childhood,
business.
I remember my dad telling me a story about how
My dad's a troublemaker.
He is a troublemaker.
He's a troublemaker.
But my uncle is like the most charismatic. He really is the most charismatic. And if you knew like what he went through and what he was into, you would never know. Like you would never look at him and know. Okay, the most like you see him and it's just like
oh, I can get him to do some things.
I see why.
Jack of all trades, master of none. He's that shit.
Yeah, but also my dad, if my dad ever told you the story of him, like your dad was like out swimming and he got too far, my dad like saves him, my dad's all, your dad was like, what you having a bubble for? I thought you was drowning.
I know my dad used to like throw us in the lake and say, this is how I'm gonna teach you how to swim.
Yep,
we learned how to swim.
Thing. That was their thing.
I think that was child abuse.
Ma'am.
Somebody should tell him.
Ronnie says he's an engineer / mastermind, and he gets bored easy. That's what it is.
That is exactly legit.
Cause you,
that's when he gets
pay him
in trouble.
to do a job, and then he gonna come back when he ready.
It'll always get halfway done.
That's our uncle, and that's my uncle, and I love him. Okay?
I love him too. But yes.
So, I think that what Siobhan doesn't realize is that how she has taken her story, and the same thing for Angie, and we're about to get to her story, that how they've taken their story and turned it into purpose is not just how they mother their children, but how they mother their children's friends. How they are, they actually help prevent child abuse, right? So you have people who are in childcare and who are amazing in childcare. That's a way of preventing child abuse. You have people who create safe spaces for their children's friends, safe spaces where their children's friends can be open and candid, and that's a way of preventing child abuse, right? So Angie here, look, sis was able to tell us her story, and I think one of the most beautiful things was what kind of propelled her was her husband and his taking her story and turning it into art. And so what I want to do with Angie at this point, you good, girl?
Yeah.
She said, yeah. So Angie's going to tell her story, and so first thing I want to ask you was, you were abused as a child?
Yes.
Okay. And by who?
Who I'm speaking of particularly
Yes.
of this song
Yes.
was my mother's husband.
Okay, and when did it start?
When I was like 11.
Do you remember like the first instance where you was like, this ain't it?
It started with if I walk by, just like a playful smack on the butt.
Now let's take it further. The sexual part, the sexual inappropriacy started at 11, but there was
Yeah.
abuse before that, correct?
Yeah.
The hitting and things like that. Okay.
Well, my father wasn't around, my biological father, and he took advantage of that.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say now, my mother let him because I'm a mom, and I wish I was about to say.
I can say
I was
it.
gonna
I'm gonna say
a
it for you.
But I was
got
trying to
you.
keep it clean. No one is allowed to touch my kids. Like, no one. I don't care who you are, or how close we are, or whatever. We just don't do that.
Right.
And I just believe that she allowed it. So, why not?
Right. So it started out as, now this is not just your mother's husband, but this is also the father of your.
I have 2 younger siblings that are his children.
Okay.
Well, that he made. 'Cause
Gotcha.
they're mine.
They're yours.
Yeah.
Because you then not only dealt with his abuse and his sexual advances, then you also dealt with
Having
his
to take care of
neglect.
them, having to take care of the home, because then my mom was always working,
Gotcha.
because she had to be the provider,
Because
because he wasn't.
okay, so let's take it a step further. You said it started about the time you were 11, and you were kind of like, this isn't it.
You feel it in your, it doesn't feel, what is that? Like,
Right.
But you can't really say anything because he's already beaten you, and
And
he's
it's like everybody sees
already
that.
allowed to, and it's okay. So it's kind of like, the way I dealt with that when that started was trying to avoid walking around him.
Okay. Now, was there anybody that you were able to, that you went to and was like, yo, this is what's going on?
When I finally spoke up, it actually happened in school. I was in 8th grade in South Maine. And it's just a friend of mine. I vented to her because I was upset. She knew I was upset because what happened was, not only was he that, he was a sucky husband too, so they were always on and off. And they broke up for a little bit. He left. He was coming back. So I was, having an episode in school, in the bathroom, and a friend of mine's noticed. And she did what she thought. She ran and she told our 8th grade teacher. And then they sent me to the nurse. And that's when I spoke up. And they did what they had to do.
Now, the adults that you spoke up to, did they take it seriously?
Absolutely, which was my 8th grade teacher
Okay.
and the school nurse at the time.
Did those adults ever make you feel like, are you sure that this is what
No,
happened?
they immediately, I could tell.
Okay, and then what happened from there?
So what happened from there was, obviously, you know, they have to call my mom. They have to call social services, you know, all that. It's a procedure that, or a process that they have to do. And I don't know what happened or what conversation was made when I wasn't around. And they let me go in. My uncle, which is my mother's brother, at the time was volunteering as a police officer
Okay.
for Pleasantville. So I guess because he was volunteering, they allowed him and my mom to then speak to me. They put me inside of the back of the car and they questioned me. They asked me what I said about what happened, and I said it. And
Now, this is just your uncle and your mother and you and sitting in the car?
that's it, sitting in the car outside of school. And my uncle was asking most of the questions, and I answered them. And then when he asked me, well, how many times did you tell them that it happened? So I said, well, I'm not sure, because it was so many, but definitely more than 10 to 12 times. And then when I said that, he looks at my mom, and my mom's like, oh my God, you know, like, you know.
Now, I want to say that this is one of the reasons why I applaud Angie, because it's not like there aren't people who are still affected by her story around. And Angie's saying that, you know, what I need to do for my healing is tell my story the best way that I know how, and
Regardless of their presence.
regardless of, and you know what I mean, still having to take an initiative to heal. And if you can't come along with me on this healing journey, that's your business. So, Angie, you still have a relationship with your mother at this moment. So
It's not the best, but it's, you know, because I'm just that person where she's still my mother.
right.
But I'm still angry,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I don't get it
As a mother.
as a mom.
Right.
I don't get it, and I'll never get it. So
Right.
that's what that is. But I don't hate her,
Right.
you know. But yeah. So behind that, in that moment, the reason why nothing happened was pedaling back to where I said my siblings were my kids. I helped raise them. Yeah, I was young, but I knew what I was doing. And I loved them very much. And they told me that if I didn't change my story, and I repeated that at the police station, that my little brother and my little sister were gonna hate me.
Wow. So this is what your mother and your aunt and your uncle said,
Yep.
was that your siblings were going to hate you because...
And I believed it. I'm a kid.
Right.
I'm in the 8th grade. I'm a
Right.
kid.
Because that was their way of manipulating
you
so that
into-
you wouldn't say anything, because they knew that was your weak point.
Yeah. How old are you, Angie, if you don't mind me asking?
43.
Take 5 years off of that, girl.
Leave
She's
the Shabbat.
39.
She's 30. She's 39.
No, I'm 43.
She's 39.
Listen,
And I'm proud. 43.
and one of the best 43-year-old women looking 25. She's she's not one of them, okay? But
She's married.
she's married.
My
Yes.
business.
Yep. If y'all didn't know, the song that we're gonna play is by her husband. Okay. He don't play about her.
And he's
You'll
in
figure
here.
this out in the song. He don't play about her. Okay, he don't play about her. So, yeah, this is a lot of unpacking. So they told you, and see what I said in that moment was when they told you that you had to, change your story. That also like made you grow up because you realize I don't have the protection that I need as a child.
I already felt like that anyway.
Right.
But that was like
That was the moment. That was like the
that was like, oh wow,
nail
I
in the
really
coffin.
don't.
Right.
Got
And
it.
then on top of that, it kind of made you grow up because it's like, so I see what y'all are capable when it comes to me. So let me really
I
protect
feel I have to move around you.
Right. Right.
And I was 12 when that happened. 12. My oldest is 21. I birthed 5 boys. I have 2 bonus. That's 7. And I don't let none of them touch my kids ever.
Rightfully so. So I have a question. So how has, or do you think this has impacted your self-esteem or your feelings of self-worth?
Repeat that again. I need to process that one again.
Do you think this situation has impacted your self-esteem or your feeling of self-worth?
It did for a long time, till maybe the last few years, if that makes sense. Yeah.
In the sense like you felt like not loved or?
I wasn't from who I needed to be.
Of course,
We needed it
of
to
course.
Yeah, so
So when was it that you decided that you were like, you know what, I'm not over this, and I need to
well,
work
I was
on it?
never over it, but last year,
I mean, I don't think you get over it, but
You don't.
you kind of just like, okay, this
You
is the moment that
manage.
I want to be intentional about my management.
so this was my theory before, which is wrong. If you're somebody that something happened to you, this is wrong. It really is, but this is the way I thought before. It's like, don't speak about it, because then people think you just want attention. Or don't speak about it because then you don't want to hurt other people's feelings.
1000%.
You know what I'm saying? Don't speak about it because other people view these people as other people. And who am I to taint
Their
someone's
image and
image
things like
of
that.
someone, whatever.
Yes.
But it's all wrong. It's all wrong.
Yes.
Last year, I was on a retreat that I was invited to. Shout out to Tika, Wisdom Born. Love her for that, which my cousin Bianca invited me to. My other sister Millie was supposed to come. She couldn't. She had COVID. And my baby sister Jasmine ended up coming with us. We were on the road. And out of nowhere, my husband just calls and was like, is it just y'all 3? Like, are y'all in the car? And I'm like, yeah. And he just was like, so I want you to listen to something and tell me what you and your sister think about it. Which was the song he dedicated about my story, part of my story. And these girls are here. And when I tell you we was a hot mess in the car,
I'm sure, because I was a hot mess when I first.
I was a hot mess. when
a
I
hot
heard
mess
it.
in the car. And so remember, the baby sister I'm talking about, that was her father. And the first thing my husband said was, I will only release it if you 2 are okay with it. My little sister instantly was like, do it. And then here goes no, I'm not ready. No, don't do that because, oh my God, my poor mom, and oh my God, yeah. But I would say 2 months ago, 2 months ago. I don't know. It just bothers me. It's just little
Good.
stuff that,
Good.
you know, like we went to the Jada Kiss and we ran into someone I went to high school with, and he was there with his girlfriend, and we ended up just all of us. And then I said something in the means where I hated to go home when I was younger, and he goes and says, "Well, you could have fooled me. You was always happy as hell." Wow, so I've been pretending that long. So it's like that bothered me there.
Right.
Just other little stuff that comes up, and it's just like people think like, "Oh, you're good. You're just so." I'm like, nah. But I am very open with my kids. And one thing I tell them is to always speak up and to come to me for everything, or to their dad, or you know, to their aunts or whatever. If you don't feel comfortable telling me, tell them. But then I'm telling them to speak up, meanwhile I'm quiet.
And you want to know
so?
something? The fact that this goes on in black and brown households
All day,
at
every
the
day.
rate that it goes on, and it's always so, like, I mean, I know you feel away because it's your story, but it is so many people's story.
Oh, you wouldn't believe how many people messaged me. Some I already knew because they had confided in me before, but other people I had no idea. And it's just like, you know, that was the point of this, you know. And, you know, my oldest, you know, he's always like, "You did it, Mom. You doing it. You know," and that makes me proud, too.
Yes.
And that's the thing for a lot of people. It's some people go to their grave and they're never able to say, "This is what happened to me," or they're never able to really process, like, this is something that's affected my life, but I've never been able to talk about the trauma. I'm always just dealing with the symptoms. So the fact that you're, you know what I mean, at this juncture in your life, you're saying,
I'm ready to talk
"I'm
about
ready to
it.
talk about it," and I'm not, you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I'm not, but I am.
But
This is the first
you're
step.
doing
This
it.
Let
is
me
the
tell
first
you,
step.
these armpits, I'm over here like,
You need some water?
listen,
She needs a fan.
I'm not even going to sit here
This
and
was
front
the
like,
first step.
I ain't
You
over
did
here
it.
tweaking,
Listen,
but
y'all got it. Because listen, the recovering people pleaser in me would have been like, "No, there's so many."
well, that's how I was,
But- and
I
probably
still
still am,
and
yes.
I still.
Because
You don't even
you still
understand
think
the
about
text
that.
message from my village. I love y'all so much. Like my best friend since we were 10. My cousin who's sitting right here. My baby sister. My husband. My kids. It's crazy.
Because you still have that doubt in your head. You're still
still-
like, I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. I don't want them to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you say, fuck it. Like, they can hear whatever they hear. You know, I'm still going to tell my piece.
I just want parents to just realize that stop leaving your kids with just anybody just because you want to go out or you want to go do this or go do that. It's just, you know, or don't be so blind and in love that you think, "Oh, he would never." I don't know. It's just,
Especially if it ain't they dad. And I mean, you know, as you can see, you can't even put it
Even.
past their father. But if it's not
Yeah.
like, I mean, I get it. But again, how Millie? I mean, excuse me. I'm sorry.
God
Shout out to
bless her.
Millie.
she
Hey, boo.
on there.
How Angie what she doesn't realize is how she prevents child abuse is being a safe space for children,
I'm a psycho.
right? And she's not a psycho.
Yes, I am.
She's a mama bear. Okay. Look, side plug.
Proudly.
This episode is sponsored by Mama Bears and Siobhan Chic. Okay. So, look, shameless plug. This episode. Okay. But you know how because a lot of times what we don't even realize is a lot of women leave their children with people that they can't trust because they can't afford childcare. A lot of women leave their children with childcare that, you know what I mean, doesn't have the credentials. So Angie doesn't know it yet, but one of the things that she's going to be diving into is being able to be a beacon for childcare, right? She doesn't know it yet because I just gave her this assignment. Okay? I just decided, you know, her and I were talking about how we can you know, help with child abuse prevention and things like that. And it's not always just giving your money to an organization that does it. It's, okay, let's find out who the abusers are. How can, like, a prime example, you have Racing, like the Leadership Studio, they do yoga for people who are in recovery, right? So you're thinking yoga, recovery, but what it is, how they're doing it, how they see fit is, if I give you something else to do, you know what I mean, and something that works on your being, you know, then you're not as likely to go back into. So if Angie says, well, I can't have all these women just drop their kids off with me, so what I can do is provide a space for, okay, so I know of this daycare, maybe I've created a curriculum. I'm just dropping, you know what I mean, just some ideas. Maybe I've created a curriculum for, you know what I mean, being able to go into different childcare facilities and saying, look, child abuse is very real. Because when people are informed, they're less likely to, when people are informed, because you have, let's be honest, you have a lot of child care providers who are just hiring anyone. They don't really have you got an 18-year-old right out of high school who doesn't really have the credentials and things like that. They just need to, they're just putting bodies there. Yeah. So if you have people who are informed, because Angie said, you know what, I'm going to come into your space and I'm going to give information and give the statistics so that you're less likely to be an offender, right? And think about it, and then, right, and so that these kids can right, and what signs to look for, because again, who came to her rescue was somebody who, you know, it was a friend who then brought it to an adult, right? And the adult said, let's assess the situation. So she was then able to, you know, get her story to an adult, and granted, it went how it went, but there was somebody who was able to step in as an advocate, right? So, like I said, a part of Angie's triumph is her being able to mother her children, and I've seen how she is when it comes to other people's kids. It's not just, you know, my kids, it's kids are safe with me, you know? So, like I said, we applaud you, because it's a journey that, you know, even if you just feel like you're just getting to a good space with it, it's a journey that it's worth taking, right? You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your kids, and you are further than you believe. You are further into your healing than you realize. You know what I mean? Because you've taken the initiative. Sometimes the speaking out is literally like the ending effects. And for those who say like, oh, it's for attention and things like that, it's like,
welcome.
I did put that out there. I did put that out there in the beginning that if you had an issue with how these young people tell their story, that's your business, okay? So because this is their story to tell, and I wasn't going to try to sugarcoat it for anybody, because it's not that. This is not that kind of situation.
You can't sugarcoat it.
And the KISS Collective, we stand in solidarity with the overcomers, because that's what they are. They're overcomers. They're not victims. They're overcomers. They are victors. They have taken the initiative to overcome what it is that they've been through and turn their pain into purpose, right? So, Angie, smile, girl, because this is...
Help it.
I was earlier. I was listening.
So look, I'm trying to go back, because there was something that you said that I remembered that I was like, that's big. So you went through this with your stepfather. Your mother kind of didn't really. Was there any time that you were like that you felt bad for your mom?
Maybe.
We know unintentionally you do, because
Yeah, like when I was younger.
this is why you still have the relationship. But more like, do you have resentment? I mean, you gotta.
Yeah, I do.
What's the relationship like with your mom and your kids?
Oh, none.
And but by choice. I mean, like with your kids, like they are kind of like, we're good.
So I'm gonna take a little bit of it back because my oldest, because see, I'm an angry little person and I didn't want my kids to be like that. And my oldest, he's 21 and he's a sweetheart. And he tries, and they kind of are bonding a little now, but she wasn't before. Again, he's 21, and you get what I'm saying? Because there's been conversations where we've had to say something to her, where me and my sisters sat down and said something. You know, my son was there, and we tell her like, yeah, like you suck, and you have favoritism between your grandkids, and the kids feel that. And then she would do good for a couple months, and then it was just like, then we didn't hear from her for a while. You know what I mean? But she still does it to the little ones like that. But my oldest and her kind of have their own thing, which I'm not gonna tell. How can I explain it? Like, I'm not one of those parents that'll be like, well, since I'm mad at her right now, I don't want you talking to her. Or I don't, you know, I'm all for it. I'm all for, I want that. Forget me. I'm good, you know? Like, I always say this, you're in time to redeem yourself with your grandchildren if you failed your kids. And I say that, and I mean it. And I've had these conversations over and over with her, you know, and my middle kids, like after my oldest, they're over it. They be like, hey, just because, you know, but I still got I got little ones. They're innocent, you know, so they still light up if they don't see her for a few months, and then she'll pop up, you know, for a birthday or for like a holiday, and they light up, you know, they're innocent. And there's been times where I told her that too. I'm like, do you see this? You're still in time for them. Like, you know, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't get her.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And I think that's another thing that we got to unpack. That, you know, when you say you don't put it on them to, you know what I mean, like to feel what you feel, because they're kids. And if I as an adult have a hard time assessing certain things that I feel, why would I put that on? Like you know how you have certain conversations and you like, this not for y'all, because you know, like if I'm having a hard time processing this situation, why would I expect my 5-year-old to be able to process how they should feel in a moment and things like that, and what things look like? Kids are intuitive, but they're also still children.
Yeah.
And they, you know what I mean? And they're still growing processes so that's another thing, you know, that's big of you as an adult to say, I'm not putting not putting adult problems on kids, because, you know, but they also like your son is still figuring it out on his own. You know what I mean? Because that's what they do. Like, it ain't even about my mom's energy. It's, I know what we look like, and this ain't what I want it to look like. Yeah. So I wanted to go back. There was something that you said. You kind of called it there was a situation where you were sent away.
Oh, yeah. So.
Close your ears.
What had happened was.
It wasn't just me, though, that was sent away. So, when we were 11, like I had just turned 11. And I don't know, this is another, here it goes again. I just don't understand it. So, this man has family in Puerto Rico that my mother never met. Okay?
Not her family.
Not my family, not mine.
Not even
my fam-
hers.
Not
Like,
mine.
you know, like as a mom, you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna send it to my family.
Yeah,
Not even her
it's
family.
It's not my family. It's her husband's family. And at the time, we only had the little sister from him. She was only 2. And my other sister, which me and her had the same mom and dad, she was 8. We got sent off with these people to another country in Puerto Rico. And they didn't abuse my 8-year-old sister, but they definitely would beat my ass all the time and just slave me. And then they had something against my little, which was their blood. She was 2, and remember what I told you? I swear they was mine. So I got my butt whooped a couple times.
Defending.
You know what I mean? It's so yeah. That happened for over 6 months in another country.
And they weren't married yet. They got married while we were away.
So they sent y'all to his people.
Yes.
Yeah, his family. But it wasn't, so I'm gonna go back. Because I am not gonna talk bad about the men in the family, which is crazy because it wasn't the men. It wasn't my sister's grandpa. It wasn't her uncle. They had 2 blood uncles and then there was an adoptive uncle. It wasn't them. It was the women. It was his mother and his 2 sisters.
My
Like
grandma-
jealousy, maybe?
My grandma and my aunts.
I was a kid. I was 11. I was barely
Now,
going through any.
do you think that they, in that time...
But he wasn't touching me at that time.
Okay.
The touching started when we got back from Puerto Rico,
Okay.
which was within this same year.
So this was just a cycle that you got kind of thrown into.
Yeah.
Because
The
what
whole
that says to
family
me, yeah, what that says
is
to me is his
issues.
mother was abusive.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's how what him and his sisters learned for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Oh, child. And this wasn't even, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Make it make sense.
make it make sense. Like, legit. So, they sent you away. You come back to them being married.
Well, they came to get us
They can,
because
and that, do they act like, oh my God, we got me? Like,
what?
do they, like, your mother
Was
and
she
him, did
excited
they,
to
yeah, were they
receive you?
excited?
Yeah, they act like they didn't know nothing. We found out. I found out later when we came back to the U.S. that the reason why they came, they weren't even gonna come for us yet. The only reason why they came at that
They
time
sent for you.
was because so in Puerto Rico, families have lands and they have houses next to each other and stuff. And next door was his other family. It was his aunt and uncle and 2 sisters, 2 brothers. One brother would kind of travel back and forth. And they told their mom was in the U.S. because they had a house down there, and the girls apparently had called and was like, tell that woman to come get her kids. Pretty much.
Tell that woman to come get her kids because
Her
something,
kid's still here.
because something ain't right. Hi.
Yeah.
So, this is what you went through up until, when did it stop?
What? Which part?
What, the sexual advances?
So the sexual advances stopped after I spoke up
Okay.
and the school was involved and all that. Even though they made me change my story and nothing happened to him legally,
He must have been like, oh, this is too close
yeah. So that stopped, but then the hitting, the beating got worse.
to, got worse.
That's
Which, I
yeah,
can see that happening.
yeah.
You told him.
Because yeah,
My
And did he ever verbalize, like I know you told on me?
no, he tried to act like he ain't do nothing. He ain't do that.
My sister says, time out for what happens in my house stays in my house. Deal with the issue and grow from it. No longer sweeping things under the rug, trying to protect others' dysfunction. Dysfunction breeds dysfunction.
100%.
And that's the thing that we're coming against in the Black and brown households, because, and I don't even want to say that it was like a certain time period, because that was a very real thing. And it's like, oh girl, you don't leave them kids
Oh, it's still a thing.
with the brother, or you don't leave, and it's just like, wait, what? Like, no, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, it's still a thing. So it's time out for, we're sweeping things under the rug. No, there are conversations that need to be had with your children, not your girls, not just your girls.
The boys.
There's a conversation that needs to be had with your boys as well. Mm-hmm. These are your sisters, these are your cousins, these are your aunts. You know what I mean? Like, the level of, and that's what it is. It breeds dysfunction. It starts, you know what I mean? Most of the time, someone who becomes a sexual offender was, you know what I mean, a victim at one point in time. So yes, Heather says, continue to walk in your truth. Bianca says, this is the first step to changing the world. I'm so proud of y'all. Sandra says, you are so brave, right? And that's what this is. This is straight bravery in its rawest form. It doesn't get no realer than this, because one of the most uncomfortable places to be is vulnerable, right? And that's what this looks like. Vulnerability is, you know what I mean, being able to tell your story. And because people will tell you, like, you don't want too many people in your business, right?
That's how I used to be,
right? But at the same time, so I'm going to die in my business,
and I'm going to let it continue. I'm going to let,
and I'm going to get sick in my business.
I've been through.
Because I care so much about what other sick people think. Make that make sense?
Because it's
Not
only
just
sick
that,
people.
she spent a lot of years protecting my feelings.
I listen, and I get, so this is why I'm saying, like, it's so brave, because she's still trying to think of others. And look, and Jasmine saying, girl, get your head lit, do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
And she's like, but like, as your mother, because you know what I mean, because as she, like she said, she didn't birth, but I know how she is when it comes to her siblings. So, and she's still trying to
Be a mother.
And it's not that she's not
But
being
she's
a mother by
sheltering
doing it.
Yes.
It's not that she's not being a mother by doing it, because it's also your form of self-care. You can't pour out to these people
If you
from an empty cup.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? And you can't give people the best version of you if inside you slowly, you know what I mean?
breaking down.
Yeah. And another thing that people don't realize, especially when you have any level of discernment, like, I can see somebody and it's like, it's coming out your ears and you don't even know it. You know what I mean? It's like it's like you ever seen, it'll be like a wall and there's like one little crack, so it's like a little bit, and then you patch it up, and then another crack, and then you patch, and that's what it looks like. And it's like, baby, let the floodgates open so we can rebuild. You know what I mean? So that's what you've taken the brave step of being able to rebuild, so that you can offer your husband, your children, your siblings, the world, the best healed version of you. Not to say that you'll ever feel completely healed, because healing is a process. Healing is a journey. But at the same time, there will be things that you're like, you know what? I used to trip over that. Now she's stepping over it. Okay. Look, this is one of these. Honestly, truly. Yep. Ooh.
Girl, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Y'all did it. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of y'all.
No, but seriously, like two two of the strongest, like two of the OGs. When I say OGs, like two of the strongest women I know. So I ain't supposed to be crying. I'm trying to host and facilitate and whatnot. No, but seriously, when I say like two of the strongest women I know, so like this is light work. So to see, you know what I mean? To see the two of y'all being so candid and so intentional about, making it, girl. Ew. Yeah. So, I wanna bring Jazz over. Don't give a side eye now.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Come
Come
on
in
in.
closer. Scoot in.
Come on in. So, hey girl, yes, face.
That's what I do.
Look at you.
So, we said we bring Jazz in because, this is a very real place for her as well. Because, Angie, speaking of her father, and a lot of the things that Angie was subject to, Jazz, you got to witness. Did Angie know that you were witnessing?
No. Only the hitting, because obviously that.
Yeah, that's like savagery in the house. There's
Yeah.
no, oh, the kids are here, let's not do that. It was just happening all the time.
Which,
But
in my mother's defense, she wasn't home
Right.
when he was beating on me.
Okay.
my mom worked a lot.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a conversation with her about it, or?
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, I mean, she's
So,
pale,
'cause
she's
it
a
was-
ghost. She was
You can
getting
see
level
It was
bruises.
that bad. Gotcha.
And there was times that I could hear her fighting with him in the room, because I remember one time he split my whole thigh open with the bottom of a belt buckle. And I remember her like yelling at him. But he's a smooth talker.
And she's a woman who wants this man's attention. So
And wants to be loved.
not just, is he smooth talking, but that's the emotional vulnerability that she had with him. So
I want to take it a step further. Do you know what her relationship with her father was like?
Who? My mom? My grandpa passed away when she was like 5-6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she didn't really have a.
male figure at all.
Oh, she did eventually, but it was also abusive. I know one of the little brothers' dad used to put his hands on her, which is why she moved from Puerto Rico to New York. My grandma wasn't she had like 5 baby dads, you know what I mean? She wasn't. I know it's nothing wrong with that, but it's not like, you know what I'm trying to say. Like
My grandma was all over the place.
She was all over the place. There
Once
wasn't
my
stable.
mom's father passed away,
It was out of
after
control.
that she just
Got her groove back.
And she also
she was out of control.
it was just my grandma was my great grandma was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, so my grandma's being raised by a crazy lady.
Yeah.
Then my mom's being raised by somebody who was raised by a crazy lady.
Yeah.
Right.
And then after her dad passes away, my grandma gets into an abusive relationship. And then my mom moves here when she's 17, so she doesn't really have an idea of what a stable home is,
What a
a
stable
healthy relationship
relationship
is, a father figure. What am I supposed to look for
Right.
in a father for my children? So she didn't really have that. But they also come from the generation that won't talk about it either.
Right.
So she subjected us to it unbeknownst to her. But I think I'm not as nice as Angie, so there's no way you didn't know
Oh, definitely.
About the sexual advances.
about it all. Because as a mom,
Yeah. And
Was
even
he
the
abusive to her?
abuse should have been like the end of it.
Was he abusive to her?
Not that I know of.
there was like one
Like,
incident, and that's
Fight.
it.
Yeah, like they would argue and yell at each other and
He
stuff
wouldn't
like that.
hit her; she would hit him.
Okay.
Yeah,
He would
like
just
I
kind of hold
never,
her.
I never saw him hit her. One time he acted like he was, and then we all jumped him.
Yep.
And he was taking it out on you.
I guess. I don't know. But I don't know what happened while we were in school or anything, but I know I never saw that man hit my mom.
I mean, like the same way you. I feel like if he was doing it to you while she wasn't around, he
You would
probably
see the
wasn't
same-
as aggressive with her. Like you're saying, just because you.
Well, I
so.
don't think so because not for nothing, like she gonna fight you back. Because my mom,
And I would say something
my,
about it.
my
They would
mom,
Right, so that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
He
my
was
mom could
probably
fight.
taking
She's
it-
an adult.
taking it
She
out
was-
on
She
you.
was going. Listen, I used to watch her fight with my father, my real father. You know what I mean? And I just think he knew he couldn't do that to her.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
So you saw the
Oh, yeah.
the physical abuse
And the sexual
then
abuse.
you saw the sexual abuse. But were you too young, or did you feel like you didn't?
Right. I was way too young to even understand, let alone comprehend what was happening, but I know what I saw. And it came out, obviously, when I was older.
I didn't know.
She didn't know. We were having normal conversation about the abuse. And I said, yeah, I remember this time when we were sleeping here and da-da-da. And her whole everything just was like, and I was like, I never told you that. And she just got up.
Because you didn't know that she didn't know.
I didn't know
That
that
you
she
knew.
didn't know that I saw everything.
So this whole time she's like trying to.
I'm 10 years older than her, so,
So
Brave
she's trying to
face.
protect me. She's
Like,
trying to
a
be
little-
motherly. And it's just like, yeah, but I remember when, and I remember when, and I know the conversation came up with my own sexual abuse, which she was upset about. It kind of makes sense to her, like, damn, you know, when I got married and left to get away from this, now I know why you were always like, well, why are you leaving? Don't leave me. Don't this, don't that. So it was tough for her. Then to hear her in my adulthood admit that, on top of admitting that I saw him do it, it was hard for her.
Yeah.
It was really hard for her.
Can I ask you about your sexual abuse?
Another
Another?
time.
Okay.
Another time.
Listen, I'm
Not because it bothers me anymore, but it's just something that I don't talk about because I forgave that person already.
Gotcha. But it wasn't him.
It wasn't him. No.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's all I
no,
wanted
it
to-
wasn't him.
Okay. Gotcha. Whew, this
He
is
did.
a
He did
lot.
beat me. He didn't keep that from me.
yeah. Okay, so when she had a little attitude problem
I did.
when she was little.
I still do.
Look, I was
Look,
like,
you don't hear her head. I still do.
So
I'm not the
but
nice sister.
that's what happens when you leave your child with her sibling all the time. So she only respected me. So when they were home and they would try to reprimand her, it's like I see her all of 2-3 years old. They would say something to her and she'd be like, like
Like, you're not my mom. My
Like,
mom's
yeah,
right there.
like,
like-
she was very, and he would like hit. There was a couple times that I jumped in and I was, because at a point in time I started fighting back. I turned 13, 14 years old,
You're not
and
gonna
you
be
know
able
you
to-
fight
you
in
can't
school. It's like, wait, I got a little bit of hands here. I'm gonna hit him back too. So then I started fighting him back. So whenever he would hit her, because of her little funky attitude, you know, not listening.
And don't think it was like spankings. I'm talking about to the point where I was peeing on
She would
myself.
pee. No, she would
I would pee myself.
Like, yeah, he would like lift her up
By
and
the
like
arm,
hit her,
by
and
my
you
arm.
could see the pee coming. And I would just jump on him, and yeah, it was bad.
So how long did that last for you?
I only remember a few times that happening because, again, I had someone strong reasonably. So I had a strong character.
Yeah.
Like, and so it wasn't going to last long. Even when I got older and my mom allowed him to come back home after knowing, he would think he was going to reprimand me. And I used to look at him like, sir, no, you're not.
Go ahead.
Go straight to exactly where you belong because this ain't it.
So, like when you had the conversation with her about, oh, I remember when, like, how did you feel in that moment? Being able
Oh,
to,
we cried because I didn't realize that she didn't know. So to see she turned like a ghost. It was like,
And then the reality hits
And the
her.
reality, right?
All
So the
over
reality's
again.
hitting her that, oh shit, she saw. And then the reality's hitting me like, oh shit, she didn't know.
Because it's kind of like,
And not only did she not know, but she's been not having this conversation for
Right,
my sake.
purposely, for my sake, for my brother's
Yeah.
sake, to
Yeah.
protect our feelings from the disgusting
I'm
details.
thinking they don't know about, I'm thinking they don't know about the sexual abuse,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah.
So, was there ever a moment, this being your father, that you were like, that you felt torn?
Oh, absolutely. Because it more so happened when he passed away.
Okay.
So your feelings were more questionable when he passed away than when he was alive.
Then when he was alive.
Because before he passed away, she was so angry with
I
him. And
was.
she
It
wasn't
was like-
talking to him. And I sat her down and I told her, I'm like, he's still your dad.
And that was over
And I
that
was
conversation with everybody. I don't care if he's still my mom or he's still my dad. Like, because as a parent, I don't get it.
Right. Right.
There's that meme that's going around. I could forgive you as your daughter, but as a mother, how could you?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I forgot to bring the box of tissues.
Oh, right here. I forgot Bianca gave me all these.
Because you just think about your kids, and just like she said, I wish a motherfucker would.
It
I
don't-
really
listen,
would.
So it's
So
crazy
Jazz
to
is-
me because it's like, I don't know.
I'm not
what's-
beeping nothing. Y'all know
For
that.
me, it's like, I don't know what was worse.
the
It
act,
happening to me or
or-
my sisters witnessing it.
Yeah.
Because I have another sister, Millie, and she didn't witness the sexual stuff, but she witnessed the physical abuse. Because, like I said, it was all, it's like a fucking.
So there's just so much to unpack because you're dealing with your emotion of going through it.
Uh-huh.
You're dealing with the emotion as a
Sister
mother,
mom.
right? As a, you know what I mean? As a mama bear, dealing with the trauma of being a child, and the person who's supposed to be protecting you is not. So it's like all these moving parts.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, and I'm like,
And she was still nice about it.
She
it
is still
she
nice
is still being
about
nice
it.
about it. Even
Yeah.
telling the story, like in the car, she didn't just say, "Oh my God," 12 times. She said, "Oh my God, they're gonna put him in jail." Not what did he do to my daughter.
which as a parent you cannot.
So as
You
I'm
cannot
like,
fathom
right.
questioning your child and what they've been through, their traumas, versus a man who did not birth, does not have the attachment the way that I do as a mom. Like, I'm not gonna question my child.
I want to encourage some parents, right? And the reason why I want to encourage some parents is because I had a friend who told me about their trauma, and they told me about their parents' response. And to them, it was like the parent just kind of like disengaged, right?
Disassociated.
This is like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I have
Became
cousins
less-
like that too that went to their parent and they were called liars to their face.
Yep.
right. So as a parent, right? Because in my head, when you become a parent, I don't have children yet, but in my head, when you become a parent, that's your only job.
That is your
It
own.
is your only job.
Not, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying like you can't be a mother and work and think. What
the
I'm
most
saying is that's
important
like your like family is your first ministry, and when you decide to have children, at that point you can't. There's just certain
No
things
one
that you
else's
can't.
feelings comes before theirs.
You just can't. There's just certain things you just can't do. So I would rather believe my lying child.
That's right.
I'm gonna ask questions.
Or
later,
treat
so
it
I'll
like
do
they're
thinking
telling the
later.
truth.
That's right.
You know what
I'll
I
find
mean?
out
Like
later.
I would rather
Whether it's true or not, we'll find out
After
later.
I done went,
But
after I done went to
lying.
jail and got arrested for whooping whoever
Then I'm gonna go to
and
then
killing
I'm
whoever,
gonna
we gonna figure it out.
lying.
you killed this man who did nothing. That's
That's
his
not.
business.
That's his business.
I didn't know that till after.
So
But-
I'm in jail for nothing.
Look,
Cool.
but
Watch when I
what
get
I'm
out.
saying is, I would rather, I just want to encourage parents because, like I said, she said her mother disengaged in it, and that led me to believe. I said, well, I'm not giving her a pass, but what I'm saying is, her trauma response in that moment may have been to disengage. Don't let that be your trauma response. as a parent, if you find out that there's something going on, don't let that be your, if you have
That's
to.
not the end all.
That's
Like,
not.
you
It
have
can't
to-
be.
yes.
It
Do your
cannot
due
be your
diligence.
due diligence.
Not just that,
Okay.
this is 30 some years down the line, this is 40 something years down the line, and we remember like it was yesterday how our mother reacted. It sticks with you forever.
Yeah, because
Wow.
look, she may
You
not.
birthed me.
She may not be able
how
to
you
This is how you're
remember.
reacting.
She may not be able to remember exactly what her mother said in that moment, but she remembered the feeling that was given, and how her mother made her feel was that she was not available. She was not on her post,
She's not the priority.
right?
What's happening is not happening.
So,
It's tough. And I want people to realize that the danger isn't outside of the home all the time.
yeah, no.
9 times out of 10.
I was about to say the
it's not
same
outside
thing.
the home, and it's someone related.
And it's someone related.
It is more likely to be someone related than it is,
It is
a stranger.
And it's also 1 in
And-
4 girls and 1 in 6 boys.
So I think it's important and for families to recognize that, like Luca was saying, no, my son's not babysitting my daughter. No, I don't want my nephew to babysit my daughter. No, I don't want, their uncle to babysit them, because these
But
are the
also
people
not just-
that likely offend.
Yeah, they're the people that likely offend, but also not treating it like, you know what I mean? Like,
Like,
I'm
this
just
doesn't
not going to
happen.
having
I don't like
conversations
people who are
with.
oblivious.
It's not just about being oblivious, though. It's also having conversations because we have conversations with our daughters that we don't have with our boys.
True.
Yep.
We have conversations with our daughters. Oh, don't wear this around him. Don't
No,
wear the
right.
uniform of.
Talk to your
And
son.
then, and when we
This
don't
is not
talk
how you
about
treat
talk to our
women.
sons about how they view their sisters
No,
and
not
their,
just your sons. If my daughter has to wear a certain thing because a certain man is coming to my house, that man should not
Not
be coming
coming
to my
to
house.
and that's the real truth. Somebody said to me, like, "Oh yeah, how y'all do? That's why y'all get raped." No. How we get raped is dealing with men who are rapists.
Yep.
That you know what I mean? No, you can't. We've got to stop saying that there's certain things that girls can't do because men are likely to what, or because boys are likely to what? No, have a conversation with these boys because that's a depraved mind. Have a conversation with these boys about how you know what I mean, how they should view the women that they're around.
And how they should take rejection, because a lot of assaults
Because
and a lot
that's
of
what it
abuse
is.
comes from rejection.
Yes. Let's, you know what I mean?
They don't know how to.
That's
They
another
feel
part of it.
embarrassed.
That's a
They don't
whole-
know how to take the
yeah.
embarrassment of the rejection,
We're
so they
seeing
get aggressive.
too many women not making it home because she said no at the gas station. Time out for that. That's a whole other conversation, but time out for that. But again, these two right here, I really commend you because, like I said, like your mother's still around. You still have a relationship with her.
Try.
Well, you try. You do your due diligence.
It's trying.
Now, how did he he left at some point and didn't come back, correct?
He left when I was 7.
Okay.
And I wanted
With another woman.
With another woman, with his friend's woman.
Yeah.
Up
That
and left.
he brought her around us too.
Yeah. And that's another thing that my mom didn't ignore it, because I had mentioned something. I vividly remember I was 7 years old walking in the kitchen and he was standing behind this woman hugged up on her, and I knew that's not my mom. And I said, what are y'all doing? Oh, she, and I don't know how it happened, but I know they both scattered. I was trying to real.
And I said to my mom in front of them, I was like, well, I saw them doing this, and that, and they're not supposed to, right? And they try to like joke and laugh about it and stuff back then. A couple years later, we found out they had slept with each other.
Hey,
Now, how's
so
her
he was
relationship with his
he was
sister?
just out here.
So she didn't talk to her sister for 10 years.
But she stayed,
But she
with
stayed
my
with
dad.
him and then had her
And had me and
my
my
little
brother.
and stayed with him after my stuff.
But didn't talk to her sister for 10 years.
Yeah.
But that just goes to
It
show
was tough.
that
It was a lot.
Yeah.
she wanted the love. And that love was more important than the love she was given.
Right.
It was a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
He did. He left when I was 7. He ran off with his friend's wife, while my dad was also married to my mom.
Yeah. And our
Then-
little cousin was dating her older daughter.
Yep.
It was a hot mess.
It was a hot mess. And I'll never forget it because he missed almost all his buses to, where was he going to? New York? I forget where the bus was taking him. He missed almost,
the hell outta here.
yeah, it was just out of here. He missed all his buses because I would not let him go. So I'm crying.
You regret that.
No. I'm crying and begging him not to, because
Oh, you wanted
even
him.
again, I
dad.
saw this, but I didn't understand what I saw.
Yeah.
So he's still my dad at this point, and he's leaving us.
And I don't want him
And then I still tried to have a conversation with him and tell him
Like,
not
don't
to
leave them, all this good stuff. And he did come back that night. Or the next day, surprised us. We thought he was gonna stay. He didn't. He just had missed the bus to get to the play.
He just needs somewhere to stay.
Exactly.
until-
So he still left. He left to California. This was when I was 7. That means my little brother was 3. Yeah,
Wow.
3.
So that's
Right.
another conversation where our little brother was so young that he doesn't know a lot of this stuff.
Right.
He just hears, and that's not the image that he has of,
Of
his,
his father.
Right.
And then that also has created a little bit of a
Distance between.
yeah, but that has happened like recently, like now, after their dad passed away. Because before he was up my butt, like always, because that was my baby. And I don't know, I don't know if
He hasn't
it
processed
mixed,
it
yeah.
yet.
But I give space. I try to talk. I give space again, and
Let his healing be in his time.
exactly.
Exactly.
I don't want to force him, but he knows I love him.
I think the one thing that the two of you may consider is that he could also be dealing with, you know, does he have children? Mm-hmm. He could also be dealing with the, you know, what could this look like for my kids? You know what I mean?
Or maybe some of his own emotions, like, you know, do I see this kind of behavior in myself? Like,
Right.
you know, is this something that I need to reflect on?
Because there are plenty of people who have dealt with certain things and they may not act on it, but
and may not
you know,
speak about like some of the things that they're struggling with.
right?
Yeah,
So-
he
Right.
definitely
I
doesn't talk about
I
it.
know he took his death hard.
Yeah.
You know, and for the most part, I do understand that I have always been his go-to.
Yeah.
And when it first happened, I was there. You
Right
know,
there,
I was right
immediately.
there. I almost took the flight with them to Puerto Rico for the funeral and the burial, but then I had to be like, hold on.
Yes.
Right.
Because I was going I was going to go to jail
Yeah.
because that would have been the
His
first time
family.
that I seen those women again.
Yeah.
And I know myself.
And she's like, I'm
And I
grown
still-
now.
and I
Remember
still-
what you did. I'm grown
I'm not
now.
an
And it's
11-year-old.
still,
She's a
and,
big
and
girl.
that's her. And while I was there, I was still nasty to one of them because they thought it was going to be cute and clever. Ma'am, my dad was just put in the hole and I will knock you out. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But I did have a conversation with my brother, and I did say to him, I was like, I get it. But
He
How do
wanted
you
her to
expect
be
me?
the anchor,
Right.
I can't.
I get it. I get it. I'm your go-to, but
not for
I
this.
couldn't
yeah.
for
Right
this.
here?
It was a
Yeah.
lot. It was a lot for me. It was like, I felt like they should have.
gotcha.
Bonded for that. Yeah.
There was a conversation
Which
that,
they're close enough to do that.
but
But
lean on each other in that moment.
Right,
right,
Like, let me.
I
deal
had
with
her for
myself.
what I needed, which was when it happened. I also, when she said I was coming with you, I said, you sure? I didn't even say okay. I said, are you sure? And she's yeah. And still in my mind, it's just like, you shouldn't be coming. Like, I'm
Yeah.
cool.
Right.
I just need you here
yeah,
yeah.
right now. I'm cool with the rest of it.
yeah.
There was a conversation that you had with him, and your mother. What did he say
Conversation with who?
on the phone?
Oh,
Yeah.
so back to that. So I got married. My first time getting married, I was very young. I was only 18 years old, and it was my first boyfriend. It was my first boyfriend, and it was my oldest son's father. And we were getting ready, and back in the day, there was no cell phones, not too many people had speaker phones and stuff. So we lived in the gardens at the time in Pleasantville, so it was the little kitchen and then the one bedroom, so you could see, And she giving me the phone while I'm getting ready for my wedding, and I'm like, "Who is that?"
No, it was the night before.
It wasn't that.
It
Look
was
at
the
that. I
night
don't even
before.
remember. I'm thinking I'm getting ready.
It was the night
See what I'm saying?
before.
I just remember it might
was
have
around
been
the time.
No, it was because
I don't
he
know.
refused. Like they refused to believe that
He
wasn't
wasn't
going
gonna
to walk
walk
her
me
down the aisle.
aisle.
Yes, like
They wanted
skirt.
him to walk you down.
Yes.
the
It
aisle.
was super weird where
y'all wanted
so many people
Yes.
thought that he should, and I'm looking like,
What in the
am I
get
bugging
out?
here? Like,
Yes. Like insisting
So-
that man walk her down the aisle.
So I don't know, but and it was supposed to be my older brother that I have on my dad's side, because I didn't want nobody else to walk me down the aisle. But I don't know, he just had his own issues and he couldn't do it, so I ended up letting my mom do it.
So she gives you the phone. Don't.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say,
sorry.
don't-
She gives me the phone, and it's him. I'm like, what the do you want? And he's just like, oh, I'm sorry, and this. I was like, oh, get the, right there. I'm about to get up, but then I caught myself. I was like, and I look at her standing there, and I was like, go pick up the other phone.
So this is when we had landlines.
Look, she was like, what?
So I didn't.
you want me to
so
do
I didn't
Yeah.
say it.
That's how she acts.
Obviously,
Till this day.
I didn't
Just
say
won't
it.
that.
I kind of just went because I didn't want him to hear me. I said, "What?" No. So she did, and she heard it, and I forced him. I said, sorry for what? Oh, for everything I did. And what was that?
Good. Good for you.
Oh, no, I want you to say it.
And mind you, this is after he's abandoned them.
Yes.
Yes.
So she on the phone with him like you just.
So when I was 18, she heard it with her own ears because he apologized. He said it.
And then how did she?
She
change
cried
after that?
and stuff like that,
She
but
did
I don't.
And to this day, she still pretends that that conversation
Now
didn't
she.
happen.
When did that come up? We never
Listen.
spoke about it, and I remember one time there was a conversation, and she's like, "That's not what he said."
Yep. Yep.
Okay. I was gonna say.
So completely
maybe she was
gaslighter.
just
So I thought back
internalizing.
then she was crying because, like, okay, all right, and then we just never talked about it, and
But then
I
she still
can't
denies.
remember.
It was in the most recent years, and it only came up because she.
I can't remember. I
I
be
get
trying to forget
aggressive.
stuff.
I'm the daughter that's gonna give you the truth, whether you like it or not, whether it hurts your feelings or not, whether you're gonna sit in front of me and cry or not. I'm gonna tell you the truth, and I've said that to her. Oh, don't talk to me. That's disrespectful. No, it's not. It's the truth, and it hurts your feelings because you know it's true, and that's something personal that you need to go deal with.
Right.
I'm just here to tell you the truth. She had the audacity to lie in my house, say something about mothering, so I'm already
Oh, yeah.
going
Like
off.
you not.
What we're not gonna do,
Not.
okay? What we're not gonna do is try to tell me how to be a mom. And then I mentioned her not apologizing to me and Millie, and she said, "I didn't know I needed to apologize for what." So I'm going off again about that. Like,
Let me
let me let you know why you need to apologize, because you gave us this. Like, you're oblivious to the life that you actually gave us. We witnessed him abuse her. We witnessed him molest her, and we didn't get an apology for it. And now you're lying to me and telling me that you said sorry to her when I just had this conversation with my sister, and she told me you did not. So now you're sitting in my house lying to me about it. Oh, but that conversation, Mom, I was 7 and I remember. Actually, I was 8.
And you were a grown
And I
child, and you
remember
said no.
her being on the phone saying, what did you do to me? And you holding that other phone, hearing the conversation. So you can't tell me that you didn't hear him out of his own mouth.
But again, there was no speakerphone, no nothing. So only me, her, and him know what
But
was
even
said.
the people in the room
So now-
can deduce what the conversation
Right.
But you get what I'm saying.
And not only that, but you're not saying, what did you do to me? And
Because
there's nothing,
nothing
and he's
happened.
like, no, girl, what you talking about? I ain't doing
Exactly.
Well,
it."
there's,
You know what I mean?
there-
Like,
they steer more to the physical abuse.
He did.
okay, either way.
That was still wrong. That was still enough for me to say, get out of my house.
Like,
Yeah.
Especially a woman coming from being abused by a step parent and knowing how it felt. And then having him admit it on the phone and you still acting oblivious to it. That's what pisses me. That's why people are like, oh, you can't move past it. No, because the oblivion and the lack of acknowledgement is
And
pissing me off. And accountability pisses me off.
Yep.
yeah.
Because I know for mine, I'm smiling in my mugshot, dog. Yeah, I did it. You're guilty. I sure am. I sure am.
Well, do
And
it
he in the
again.
dirt, or she in the dirt, because there's no gender when it comes to abuse.
Yeah.
No.
I just can't.
So, I mean, this was brave. This was very brave.
It was brave of
I'm
my
so
sister.
glad you did it.
And I told
You
both of
said
y'all
so glad
before.
you did it.
Yeah, y'all did it. Y'all
But,
did
but
it.
I don't have a problem talking about mine. Angie has her reservations. She's still like getting comfortable with speaking about it. And I think this was like the first step. This was perfect.
Yeah,
for
but
you.
when I sat, I just want to tell you, when I sat in your dining room table and the strength about your situation, the way you was talking about it,
Thank you.
inspired me.
Thank you.
Because I was like, God damn it, if she could do it, I could do this. Because that was your baby.
And you have to lean on each other. You lean on
Because
each
I'm
other.
looking at you like, shit, I'd rather go through what I went through than what she went through.
They both equally as bad.
I see that, but for me, that's just me.
Of course, because you're Mama Bear.
Yeah.
Siobhan, in this moment, you have not seen him.
I have not. So this man has been home maybe 2 years. I can't tell you, I cannot tell you how long. But I have not seen him. We don't cross paths. We don't hang in the same circles. There would be no reason for us to see each other.
How do you think that would look?
I don't know. To be honest, at this point, I am completely, I don't want to say healed. I'm over it. I'm where I am in my life. He's where he is in his life. You know, both of us had to go through years of figuring our shit out. So I wish him the best, and I'm doing fine.
Yeah, I've seen him out of
It was a lot.
But
I'm proud of both
so,
of you.
so
Thank you.
we're going up from here.
That's right.
We're going up from here.
I was already going.
Hello.
I was already. I had 7 little people that I was always going up for.
What I'm saying is we're
Personally.
going up personally.
Yeah, I get it. I get
We're
it.
and we're taking this, you know what I mean? We're using this as a step.
Yeah.
up, you know what I mean? Because different things have helped to propel you. This is just another thing to, you know,
Push her
Motivate you more.
move you forward. I got a question. I'm sorry. It's been a whole lot.
It's been good.
Miranda says, thank you both for sharing stories. I pray this encourages parents to evaluate their relationships and whose care they leave their children in, and to continue to talk to their children. Angie, I know what it took for you to speak publicly. You are so courageous, and I am so proud of you.
That's my friend since we were 10. So
Look.
That's my other sister.
that is.
Erica says, I know that's right, Angie, accountability. Chrissy says, glad you got him to do that as far as speaking with the phone call, even though it doesn't excuse or make it better.
Yeah.
Joe says, could have been a realization that she is a part of her daughter's pain. So for your mother, and that's what I was saying about my one friend whose mother kind of like disassociated. It was kind of like her trauma response was, I'm just not gonna, or it could have been, I've been there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't.
We've tried to have those conversations and they
you
go
get
nowhere.
It's easier to ignore
She's
versus
not
acknowledge
ready.
it and do the work to heal.
Same with my father. We'll never know
No.
if something
Erica
happened to him.
says, what has God revealed to you in the aftermath?
For me, I would say a sense of family, because before all of this, and my family's always been close. My family is very tight knit. We're big, but I think we've leaned on each other a lot. Not only have we leaned on each other because of the situation, but like the people that show up for you, like they have shown up for you in ways like your loyalty has been like, and then there's the people who haven't. But the ones that have, it has revealed to me who is like my go-to, who are my ride or dies. Yes, I think that more than anything.
Another encouragement to parents to be careful of your language to children. And
I
what
still
it
have
can,
to work
what
on that,
message
'cause
it
Lord,
can
No. I think it's more,
Oh, I thought you
more
said
so,
about
not
No,
cursing,
no,
because
not
I curse
cursing.
all goddamn
No,
day.
not
It's your words.
I got a
It is
potty mouth.
how
When I say your-
they take everything.
Listen, I'm far from fake. I'm
So,
like, hold on, because I
no,
be talking crazy.
So when I
No.
say your language to children,
When
I'm
it comes
thinking-
to these
What you-
situations.
when it
Yes.
comes to these situations,
Let me
but
shut up.
what even
just what
like
the words
when you
that you say to, yes.
things that you allow your children to say, no, I don't want to be around that person.
That's
allow
right,
your
that's
children
right. Those
to,
are boundaries.
Set, yes, allow your children to set boundaries.
They don't have to hug everybody.
Thank you.
They don't have to
People
kiss
used to
everybody.
say stuff to me with my son and my nephew as well. My nephew is an Aries, being raised by a Virgo daughter. I'm a Virgo mother, and I'm a Virgo. We're very. You're gonna get it how it comes out. Sorry if it hurts your feelings, but it's the truth. So when he was little, people would be like, "Oh, he don't say hi." He would be like, "No, I don't want to say hi." And I used to be like, "And that's okay. Those are his boundaries." Oh, you shouldn't do that. No, you're not about
No.
to tell me what I'm gonna allow him to feel or not feel.
I don't force my kids.
Yes.
He don't
You
want to say
cannot-
hi. He don't
They
want
can
to
be
shake your hand.
respectful.
Right.
Yes.
Hey, keep it moving.
Yes.
Yep, and
Be
that's
respectful,
it.
say hello. But it
But
does not have to be affection.
Hug or
It
a
does not have to
kiss.
be
If they don't want to
touches.
do that,
No.
you have those are them setting their boundaries, and you need to allow them to set their boundaries, because you are not raising children. You're raising little people to be adults.
The adults,
And
right.
if they get comfortable with that stuff
Now they're going to be comfortable with, they're not going to know how to raise their voice. They're not going to know
Yep.
how to say no when it's inappropriate, when it makes them feel uncomfortable, when these are things that you need to know that you're
And there's
setting
just-
them up in the
there's, like,
future.
right. There's just little things like, you know what I mean? Like when you say to somebody's kid who's not yours, like, oh, like it'll be a secret between you and me.
No
because
secrets.
Then,
No
because
secrets.
then what they think is that if it's an adult, it's okay for me to
okay.
keep a secret. So
And proper names, because that is
For
a
body
penis,
parts.
that is a
Yeah.
vagina, those are titties or boobs or breasts, whatever you want to tell them, but those are proper names, because when child
they're
services comes in,
uncomfortable,
when
yes.
the nurse comes in, when the doctors comes in, and the little girl, the little boy says, "Oh, he touched my flower,"
right,
where's that gonna go?
right.
They're not understanding that their flower is, oh, they just touched
You
their
got any
flowers,
more
huh?
questions for me? Because I'm about to tap out.
So
You know, I'm already like,
what is God?
She
How
show
do
her
you
you
feel
coming.
better?
it's
Do
me.
you feel better?
Now she
I feel better,
so-
but I'm still like,
Yeah.
you know. That's why.
Has God
Yeah.
revealed anything to you in the aftermath?
Has God revealed anything to you?
I don't even know how to really answer that.
It's the way you live.
You took it out my mouth.
I don't have words for it. I'm just so passionate about my kids, about my nieces, my nephews, and just kids, period. Like it's just, I'm gonna be their voice.
Yeah.
Like I am. Like I don't care who you are. Like we could be friends, and if I know you letting something happen or you're acting like nothing, I'm gonna check you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't care how you feel.
because there were people around who knew.
There were a
There
lot
were
of
people who were around who knew and
said
didn't, you know what I mean, didn't say nothing. And they was having conversations about it at their table, like, girl, you know,
Oh,
she
absolutely. And then nowadays have the audacity to
smile on your
wonder.
face
No,
or-
to wonder why they don't have access to us.
Right.
No,
Or access to
it's
our
the
children.
Questioning. Oh,
How
they
come?
don't come around? Girl, you ain't even girl, guy, whatever. Because it was both. It was aunts and uncles plus extra people around.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't help me with the.
What do I expect you to do for my kids?
Right.
If you turned a
I'm
blind
not
eye on
even.
me,
I'm not even going to give you that assignment because if
Right.
you fail it,
I'm
I'm
gonna be
not
on your
10,
ass.
11, 12 no more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna forget who you are.
So we're coming to the end of our time,
Yes.
but I do want to play Stretch's song.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to let it be known that when I heard Stretch's song, I was like,
like everybody else.
yeah, my
Did
thought
he go
process-
through this?
But no, but my
No.
thought process
He
was
did
the
amazing.
level of love for this man to be thinking about you. It was probably a conversation that they had a long time ago.
Yeah.
The level of love for this man to be thinking about you, have you on his mind, and be like, you know what, like,
While I'm away.
there's nothing I can really do for her, but let me, while you know what I mean, while she's away, let me put it, like, let me show you through my form of art, right? So because we, you know, had the issues that we had earlier, I'm going to play it the best way I know how.
But you can also find it.
You can also find it on all platforms.
Yes.
Okay? It's by Stretch 609, and the song is called Little Girl. It is the explicit version. If y'all haven't already tapped out because you could not listen.
Yeah.
Yes. It's beautiful.
Little girl, hold on. Don't let that man break you down. Might think nobody cares, but real love is around. Bound to find you, cause that type of pain cuts deep. I know you're looking for a hill that's steep, but little girl, hold on. There's nothing that could change your past. Just give your kids the blessings you never had. I know it's hard to understand why things were even allowed, but don't worry, cause karma comes back around. So little girl, hold on. Where should I start? It's a shame when the mother ain't even playing a part. It's hard to imagine what a daughter must face, being abused and touched in inappropriate ways, especially by the one that's supposed to accept her. Filling the role of a father, he's supposed to protect her, not the one who causes her harm. That sounds foul. A grown man putting his hands on a child, that type of damage is forever, never will it be gone. I just hope that she could weather the storm and stay strong for her siblings so they don't have to feel that hurt. She knows better, but it only gets worse. It's like a curse. Her childhood was robbed in a way that she can't get back. Built up resentment, and he was the one who did that. Now she dislikes eyes that are blue or skin with the red pigment. That's the devil in view. So little girl, hold on. Don't let that man break you down. Might think nobody cares, but real love is around. Bound to find you, cause that type of pain cuts deep. I know you're looking for a hill that's steep, but little girl, hold on. There's nothing that could change your past. Just give your kids the blessings you never had. I know it's hard to understand why things were even allowed, but don't worry, cause karma comes back around. So little girl, hold on. What more can I say then? Family members knew, but no actions were taken. It's like they ain't care, so why should he stop what he doing if they won't believe what isn't seen? It's like a bad dream she can't wake up from. But stories like these you can't make up, son. Her childhood ruined, adulthood beginning. Hoping that her future is better than what she's living. Anger builds up and it's hard to be affectionate. Put them walls up, love, she couldn't get next to it. But over the years, she let the walls down and was blessed with a few boys, but that ain't all now. Had so many miscarriages, yet she didn't know why. But her body rejected girls, so they won't live what I describe. It's crazy how one man can change your life, but that life through her sight would have him take his own life. Now that's karma. It's crazy how we put so much trust into the people that we look up to. How we entrust them with the ability to protect us from harm in a world that's so cruel. But what do you do when that trust is broken and the people flag, protect our children.
Yeah, yeah.
That's me, guys.
So yeah.
And thank you.
All streaming
Yes.
platforms,
Thank
you can
you,
find that
Stretch.
song, and if you didn't hear it clearly,
Yeah,
download
when
it.
Angie reached out to me, she was like, you know what, I want to, like, this is how we want to link these two together. We want to say thank you, Stretch, for caring for her in that capacity, right? You
He loves her so much he made the song, and he respects my opinion so much that he didn't even want to release it if I didn't say so. So I always say thank you, I love you.
Love you too.
Like, that's her story though.
Yeah, so if you haven't already, I want to go back on there. God, sheesh. If you have not already, go download the song. It is called "Little Girl" by Stretch 609. Ooh, I'm sorry. We do got to get out of here. I don't want to keep Crystal any longer, but Freedom City Studios has
Yes,
availed
appreciate
this
you.
space
Thank
to
you.
us, and we appreciate it. We really do. They have been so gracious to us.
In this beautiful space.
This
Yes.
beautiful
Yeah.
space, right? At 645 South Mill Road in Absecon. Okay?
Sweet five.
Sweet spot. I don't know why they say Absecon because it's giving very much EHT.
I said EHT.
EHT.
I thought it was
It's giving very much EHT because literally, yeah, because my Sharon lives right there. So don't go too deep into Absecon looking for it.
No.
So
Follow Safe Light signs.
Safe Lights and College Hunks. And Wind Supply.
Yeah, culture.
Yeah, College Hunks is right here.
We'll
Wind
get our
Supply.
signage up there.
Amen.
Yeah.
My
Amen.
Freedom City Studios on Facebook and Instagram.
There you
There
go.
you go.
There you go.
Okay. All hearts and minds are clear.
Yes.
So be looking out for, how Angie and Siobhan put their hand to the plow because I'm giving them assignments. That's what we do here. Here at the KISS Collective, we take this pain and turn it into purpose, and we find ways to empower and uplift, even though that is exactly what they have done here tonight. They have no idea the impact and the just their bravery that they've been able to show today, the impact that it's going to make. I appreciate them. I
Yeah, we
appreciate
thank
you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Seriously.
Of course. I was here for the conversation. Always here for the conversation. And to the viewers, thank you so much for bearing with us. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for tapping into the
Commenting.
conversation. Yes. And being, and the support. And we're going to sign out. Thank you, my loves. Have a good night. Bye.